Welcome to Waiting Tables Podcast, sponsored by Bruscato Law, where we share stories of people in our community who live to serve others.
Man, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. If you wouldn't mind,
Yeah.
I mean, I know you. I've known you a long time.
Sure.
But can you tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, what you do, who you are,
Yeah.
your family, and whatnot?
Look, hey, thanks for the invitation. Certainly seeing your podcast over the past time that you've been doing it. Glad I was able to finally get in here and sit down with you. Like I said, we've known each other for forever. But for those that don't know me, I am Stewart Cathey, State Senator, District 33. Represent 8 parishes here in Northeast Louisiana, or in North Louisiana, really, from West Carroll all the way to Webster Parish. I've got a beautiful wife and a brilliant 2-year-old daughter who is freakishly smart at some of the stuff that comes out of her mouth. I'm like, where in the world did you figure that out? Legislatively, I chair the Senate Ag Committee, so we lead ag policy for the state, trying to make sure that our farmers, loggers, timber industry, ranchers are taken care of, and making sure that we're putting them in a position to be as successful as possible. I have lived here in Monroe my entire life, graduate of ULM. Have spent 20-something years in the Army. Literally, was in basic training the day the war started. Have been to Afghanistan a couple of times, Puerto Rico for some disaster response. Probably would go back to Afghanistan before I'd go back to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was that challenging. Probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, honestly. My dad and I have a small business. We do some IT consulting on a national scale. And other than that, try to stay active in the community, try to continue to fight for people here in the state legislature, and hopefully we can take that same fight to D.C. and do the same thing up there, and bring some wins back for the people here of Northeast Louisiana. I'm all yours for the next.
So to be clear, you are running.
Yeah, it's public
district.
and it's official. Yes, we're all in, no quit, and gonna give it all we got till November, and then, good Lord willing, we'll be heading to D.C. to continue representing the fine people of the 5th Congressional District here in Louisiana.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're running.
I mean, it's been in the paper. It's been, you can tell when people start doing certain things. So yeah.
No, I mean,
it's obvious.
That's why.
But look, yeah, as long as it's not going to be announced, as long as this isn't. I didn't know if this was a deal like we record on Monday and you release it Thursday, something like that. But if it's not till after
we shot Julia's in early February, and Michael was before Julia. Yeah, and a lot of his are just now starting to hit. So I mean, it's not what.
Where are the cameras? Okay, cool. Oh, so the teleprompter screen is a camera behind it. Okay, cool.
I mean, I need to just check because we haven't done that. So again, none of this will be used.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So during COVID, when everything went,
Just roll.
yeah, you can do it. Yeah.
Well, hey, I got you a gift.
Oh, thank you.
This is I know we're getting toward the end of summer now, but it's
My daughter will
a
love
pickleball. All things Bruscato.
Sweet. Hey, look, you got to put your name on the stuff. That's the name of the game in y'all's world. No, this is cool. Like during COVID, when everything shut down and went remote, and I got tired of looking into the little fisheye on the laptop, So I set up the whole deal in my office. That's why I'm kind of fascinated by how you got it. Anytime I do something like this, I'm always asking, like, okay, like how you got it set up, what's your lighting like, what's your microphones and all that. The thing I did learn in that the most important thing outside of the camera, outside of the microphone, is the tripod. That do not skimp on the tripod.
Like for the camera?
That it makes so much difference.
Yeah. Wow.
I'd have never thought that.
Our cameras are all like mounted directly onto the wall. So I mean, I don't. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, no, this is a cool setup. I'm always like this again. This is the fascination that I have with the production side of things.
So do you know where you know me from? You beat 40 million people, so I don't expect you to.
Okay.
But John Crow.
Oh.
So I do the video for.
Got it. Yes.
So
they John does a great job up there. He's and look, and when we get the ramp finished, it's going to just. So one of the things that we've been working on for the last 5 years through the capital outlay process is what they're calling the mega ramp in Farmerville. So Lake Darbone is like one of the top 3 white perch lakes in the country. People come from all over to fish Lake Darbone. To the point that I got a buddy of mine, he and we go up to Grenada Lake, which is widely regarded as the top white perch lake in the country.
You're speaking Nolan's language right now.
And when we go up there and they ask us where we're from and we tell them Monroe, Louisiana, it's like, why are you fishing here? You got Lake Darbone 30 miles down the road. It is that highly regarded. So the problem that they have is that there's no, what I would say, just really jam up, high quality launching area. They've got a lot of small launches, and so we're trying to create what we're calling a mega ramp that'll hold 100 boats or 100 cars and trailers in the parking lot, fish cleaning station, nice dredge channel out into the main channel. It's going to be top notch and really help boost Union Parish and Farmville.
Is that state dollars or?
It's a combination, state and local.
Okay.
But it's tourism.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it sounds like legitimately a destination. You know, Lake Darbone's always.
And now you've seen the popping up. The Airbnbs have gotten real big there, all over the lake. They've got some, Rhett's Tails and Shells does a great job up there, providing a cool atmosphere. K&M does another awesome job. Marcy and Kenny Cavanaugh, they've really transformed the business they bought. So, yeah, a lot of great things going on in Union Parish.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely seems like it's grown a lot. And then there's that, what's the business up there that's like exploded?
Enviro Rentals.
Enviro is like,
it's truly a like ultimate success story. 2 guys, Jared Ramsey and Trey Towns, started mowing yards in college, and then started doing some pipeline work and mowing right-of-ways and pipelines, and then realized that there was a void in the rental business. Started renting big equipment to pipeline companies, and it has just exploded. And if you go in there, you're liable to see an 18-wheeler pulling out of the yard there in Union Parish, headed to Pennsylvania, Colorado, literally all over the country, right there out of Farmville, Louisiana, and the work they've done to try to grow their business, but also make their facility appealing. When you come in, if you're coming north from Ruston, it's right there, and it's
an amazing in appearance.
Yes.
I've never been inside of it.
It's beautiful.
It's very, professionally.
Yep.
maintain and build. I mean, it's a big, huge business you wouldn't expect to see rolling into Farmville,
Well, and Trey and I had that conversation like 6 years ago when they were building it as I was running for the first time up there. And he said, I always have been critical of not putting our best foot forward, like as a community, and making sure that getting frustrated when businesses don't really go all out. And he said, I could have put a manufactured home, converted it to an office, and just had a yard up here. He said, but then that would make me a pretty big hypocrite. He said, so we went all out, and they sure did, and it's beautiful. And so really an awesome story, and there you go. Yeah. I got several of these. So, just a great business.
Yeah. Well, I think and I've never met Trey or Jared, but I've heard really tremendous things about them. So, I mean, it's kind of good to hear that from somebody else too.
And every conversation that I have with either of them it's such a selfless approach, right? It is always, about trying to help Union Parish, trying to help Farmerville. It's never a me or an I or whatever. It's like, hey, what can we do to try to grow, our little pocket of the world? Mm-hmm. So again, something to be proud of.
I mean, it's definitely a bright spot in
Sure. I mean, look,
in the parish. I mean,
well, look, just like, you could have gone to Premier Plaza, the Black Box, and rented out 4 or 5 offices, but instead you came in here, you bought an old building, you fixed it up, and it's much better looking than it was prior to you coming in here. Yeah,
when it was a bank.
Yeah. Now, if we could just get somebody to come in and buy the old Butterbean down the street, the old.
I think I don't know what specifically. Maybe we could get like somebody in Congress to write a big federal grant or something. But but I think there's a big asbestos problem with that property. I don't know specifics, but that's just what I've always heard over the years.
Well, there are certainly avenues that we can go through to make sure that we've got, whether it's through DEQ or LDH, whoever we have to go through to make sure that you've got the asbestos mitigation, if that truly is the problem from keeping it demolished. Just because, again, it's
an eyesore.
And it really is. And I'm not trying to talk bad about Monroe.
Well, I think the guy that owns it lives in Dallas. So
okay.
I mean, it's not like
that's easier.
It's not like it's it's not like it's somebody that we know that's just like taking forever to finish a construction project. I don't know if you know anybody like that or not, but
well, and it's not like he has to drive by it every day.
Yeah,
it's not like it's the first thing you see when you come into his town. So it's it
would be nice if it was
gone.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So what you're going to run for the 5th?
We are
congressional seat?
I am. I am. We are.
Wait a minute.
Wife and
stuff?
Well, I got a wife and a daughter that are part of the equation as well, and so it's 2023 was my wife's first. We got married late in life, and we dated for a while, but 2023 was her first introduction to a campaign, and it was a pretty brutal one. And when this opportunity arose, she said, "Are we going to fix something to live through 2023 again?" And I said, "Look, anything that they could say about me, they've already said." I mean, they threw everything they had at me. I said, "I don't know what else you would think they would come with." And so no, we're all on board. We're excited, and we're looking forward to the next 4.5 months of campaigning. And
the election would be when exactly? Do you know?
It's November. It's November 3rd, November 4th.
It's not delayed by the map situation?
constitutionally mandated
Okay.
by the U.S. Constitution that the first Tuesday of November, congressional elections will be held every 2 years for Congress, every 6 for Senate, and that's in the U.S. Constitution. So no, there's no changing of that.
Well, speaking of the Senate race, for our now open seat, which was, Cassidy's seat prior, Senator Cassidy's seat prior, I mean, that race has been an absolute,
It has certainly gotten off of the issues.
well, it seems like for one candidate, there's like only one issue, right? Like, I don't understand all of it. I really don't. I'm not trying to be an expert in any of it, but like, I haven't really heard John Fleming talk about anything other than carbon capture and sequestration. And I don't even know what the hell that means.
Yeah, that's that has certainly been an issue that his campaign has latched onto,
And his base is so. He's got a lot of people.
They're loud.
That are real energetic about it.
He has certainly established a grassroots network that has really become very vocal on social media, really vocal in the public. It's just, does that translate into actual votes? I guess we'll find out.
Well, I think it translates into some percentage of.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
If
he didn't, if that wasn't an issue for him, he would be, he wouldn't have beaten Cassidy in the runoff. That was, look, to his credit, that was something that he latched onto early in his campaign. He said, "Hey, look, I'm hearing stuff from people, and this is something that people are concerned about, and nobody else is talking about it. So I'm going to be the carbon capture guy." And they've got a certain.
What do you know? What is carbon capture? I'm gonna look it up just because.
No, carbon capture
honestly,
is it's carbon capture sequestration, and it is a global effort to reduce carbon emissions across the planet. The problem is that America is the only country that plays by the rules. And so the oil and gas industry here in America is playing by the rules. They're doing what they've got to do because we've got a lot of capital investment in this country, in this state, that exports liquefied natural gas across the planet. And so you've got to have a certain box checked in order to sell that product outside of America. And that's where the market is. And so unfortunately, it's
carbon capture and sequestration is a technology used to reduce carbon dioxide emissions from power plants, factories, and other industrial sources. The goal is to prevent CO2 from entering the atmosphere where it contributes to climate change. How CCS works. Capture. CO2 is separated from gases produced by burning fossil fuels or from industrial processing such as cement or steel manufacturing. Capture can occur before, during, or after combustion, transport. The captured CO2 is compressed into a liquid-like state. It is then transported, usually through pipelines, to a storage site. Sequestration. The CO2 is then injected deep underground into geological formations such as depleted oil and gas reservoirs, deep saline aquifers, unminable coal seams. The aim is to store the CO2 safely for hundreds to thousands of years. Why is it important? It reduces greenhouse gas emissions, helps industries that are difficult to decarbonize, such as cement, steel, and chemicals, can be combined with biomass energy to create negative emissions, removing CO2 from the atmosphere overall. The challenges: the high cost of capture and storage, significant energy requirements, need for long-term monitoring to ensure the stored CO2 does not leak, limited infrastructure in many regions. A simple example would be, imagine a coal-fired power plant that produces 1 million tons of CO2 each year. With CCS, up to 90% or more of that CO2 could be captured, transported, and stored underground instead of being released into the atmosphere. CCS is considered one of several tools alongside of renewable energy, energy efficiency, and electrification that can help reduce global greenhouse gas emissions and address climate change. So that's
yes,
what it is, right?
correct.
I mean, the reason why I'm saying that, I think there's a lot of people that are like so fired up about it that have no idea what it even is.
Well, and there's a piece in there that, and it's the eminent domain and expropriation piece that has,
People fired up.
yeah, and I certainly understand the concern with that.
Especially if you own thousands of acres of.
Correct. Now, the truth is, within the eminent domain, the expropriation laws, 99.9999999% of the time, that process is used when you have 30 heirs on a piece of property that 29 of them want to sell, and the other heir lives in Massachusetts, and you can't find them. And so the 29, whatever the number would be, they would go before a judge and say, hey, look, we can't. We've tried to make contact with this relative. We've tried to do this. We all want to sell.
We had him served.
Correct.
The notice
Yeah,
of this hearing.
Yeah.
There's notice and opportunity to be heard.
Correct. We can't get a response. We can't find them. And so we're gonna sell it for this. Their share is X. That person still gets a check, right? They're still getting compensated. But that's the reason for the expropriation, the eminent domain carve-outs that are in the law is to not hold up commerce when you simply can't find somebody.
Well, and there's something about like in certain communities, and you know, there's urban communities that where this is a common thing. There's also rural communities where this is a common thing. Like farmers do this a lot. Like they just never close out a succession.
Oh.
And you know, and it's like they never run a succession, and they just, like you said, they're like 1/29th owner of, you know, maybe it's an old house, or maybe it's a
Sure
1,000 acres, and then like you said, like there's maybe 2 or 3 of them that work the land that generate revenue and income from working the land.
Sure.
And then it just sits out there.
Right. So, like I said, it's a process that's there to try to make sure that we can, not get held up simply because we can't reach somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the carbon capture piece. Look. I'll shift that a little bit. Last winter, went to London with Commissioner Strain, several other members of the legislature, along with landowners and DRACs, to meet with Parliament to discuss EUDR, which is the European Union Deforestation Regulation, and to make sure they understand the impacts that policy has on American landowners, American foresters, American timber industry. The challenge that we have is that if DRACs in Morehouse Parish wants to purchase trees from you, pine trees from you, to turn into pellets to then ship overseas to heat homes in the UK, if they buy 100 acres of trees from you, you have to plant that 100 acres back completely in trees. You can't say, well, I'm going to put a 2-acre pond, I'm going to put, an 1.5 acres for a homestead, and I'm going to sell you 97.5 acres of trees. It's a violation of the European Union deforestation regulation, which is just absolutely silly. Particularly, and this was my point to them, was when you look at Brazil, where they're cutting down thousands of acres of virgin Amazon rainforest every day to go in and plant some type of row crop. They don't have any issues with purchasing things from Brazil, but the Americans, because they know that we'll obey the law, they hold our feet to the fire on stuff like that. And so that's some of the hypocrisy that goes on that's very frustrating. Obviously we have a global economy today that has evolved over the last 100 years, more so than anything else. And so if you're going to sell your products outside of America, sometimes you kind of get screwed by the Europeans.
Some other governments,
Meanwhile,
regulations.
The Chinese or the Pakistanis or the Indians, can continue to pollute Asia all they want, and nobody cares about that. But when it comes to the Americans not putting tree for tree back on a piece of timberland
in America,
which look, there are very few, if any, virgin forests left, particularly in the southern United States. Really, probably anywhere in the United States. But that just proves the sustainability of the American timber industry, because we have managed timber tracts that we'll cut it, replant it, and in 15 years we'll go in, cut it again, and it's
like
a cycle. It is that is exactly right.
It's a crop.
100%. Some people take 100 acres and plant corn on it. Some people take 100 acres and plant trees on it. At the end of the day, at the end of the life cycle, you're going to harvest it, whether it's in every October or if it's once every 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, Louisiana's always been a big timber state, especially in kind of the central Louisiana.
It's our largest agricultural product. Now, I wish we could figure out a way to get more money to landowners, because they're really taking it on the chin right now. It's just there's no money in trees anymore. You could buy land just for the timber, and the
timber would pay for the land.
Yeah, but the price of timber, what the landowner gets, what they say on the stump, is just it's hard to make work. So anyway,
so why you so here's the real question.
Yeah,
why do you want to run for Congress?
Look, this has always been a passion of mine, and a place that I thought I could serve and thought I could make a difference. I know that sounds cheesy and cliche, but I think that if you go back and look at my track record and things that I've done, there's been a pattern of service involved in that, whether it was my military service, just being involved in local organizations here in town, service in the state legislature, and so this is just another way to try to make a difference, and I think I can make a good difference, and really help our community, our area, and help the country, hopefully.
What do you see as like what do you think are the most important issues for the 5th?
For the 5th, there's so many.
I mean
the ag industry is getting
the representative, the congressional representative has like an impact.
Yeah. Look, one, affordability. Everything is, groceries, cost of groceries is not coming down. Cost of gasoline, is it in some places $4 a gallon. I think that as the war in Iran is winding down, I think you're going to start to see some relief at the pump, which you're already starting to see a little bit here locally. But affordability is a huge thing. Within the ag industry, farmers are getting killed. It's the input cost. It's the regulations that the federal government's putting on farmers that makes it unprofitable to farm. It really is. I know that people think that there's all these subsidies that just make them whole, and it's not the way it works, unfortunately. And so, we got to do something to help.
Well, locally, you've seen a lot of farmers that have kind of pivoted, in a big way. I don't really, I'm not super intimately aware or knowledgeable about these things, but I know there's a lot of solar farms out there.
There is a lot of farmland that has put solar up. It's
and the data centers are typically being constructed throughout the country. Obviously here locally in Richland Parish, it's farmland, but all around the country, it's farmland. They're using farmland to construct these things.
Which, the data center in Richland Parish, when you look at the size of that facility in the scale of other data centers, it's one of the largest in the world. But when you look at that parcel as a total of farmland, represents like less than 0.5% of the tillable farmland in Richland Parish.
Really?
Yeah. It's such a small percentage. From the general public, when you look at it, it's like, oh man, this is like 3,500 acres. Like, that's huge. But when you look at the totality of the acreage, it's like less than 0.5%. Mm-hmm. And then if you extract that out into
the rest of the
right, and again, it goes back to the market dictates what you can sell something for, and if somebody wants to buy a product that you got, it's your freedom to sell it.
It's a pivot. It's straight up just it was no longer more profitable for
correct
them to farm that land than it was for them to sell that land to Meta.
And when you look at the impact that it's having in Richland Parish, where we just saw teachers getting $50,000 sales tax check as a result of that, they should be announcing, if they haven't already, a new $70 million hospital that's going to be built in Richland Parish.
Wow. Who's developing that?
It's USDA funding. I believe it's the hospital service district there that's doing it. It's going to go across the street from the existing, or it might go across the street from the existing hospital there in Rayville, but it's going to be a brand new state-of-the-art facility. That wasn't going to happen
without something like
something like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that there are people that I certainly feel sorry for. The families that have grown up across the street from where that site is today and have been there for decades or generations. It sucks for them. It does. But actually, I saw somebody post on one of the Facebook groups I followed yesterday. Is like, hey, whose family was displaced when they built I-20? Like, those are things we don't think about because, I-20 was built 20 years before you and I were ever born.
That's good.
But there were people chiming in, oh, I lived right here, and it's underneath where the interstate was in West Monroe, and so we moved to this location and live next door to Susie, and she and I have been friends since 1960, whatever, when they moved. And so it's my grandfather had a store right there on the Monroe side underneath, right down from Howard Griffin, that was lost to the interstate, and it's part of it, and so they. But I'd never thought about it that way until somebody else put up like, hey, who lost their home on in Monroe or West Monroe when the interstate was built, and we'd certainly never say, oh, we don't want the interstate to come through Washita Parish.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great analogy.
So, and look, and there's like...
There's winners and losers and all that.
Absolutely.
You're right. And I think the whole community, though, whenever you have like billions of dollars invested, it lifts everybody.
Sure. Rising tide lifts all boats.
But there's people that are bigger winners than others, and there's certainly going to be, and here's something else, and I'm just going to plug a little bit, but whatever. A real impact that is happening is car accidents. It's a real thing.
Okay.
Like these 18-wheelers, dump trucks that basically, they're stretched to the max, moving the material that they need to move. And I'm not trying to specifically criticize anybody or whatever. I'm just telling you, there will be people that are physically injured because of this, and that's a part of the cost of this to our society. Sure. It really is. So, I think, like I said, I think there's definitely going to be people that, that take a hit, and there's also going to be a lot of people that do very well. And then there's just going to be a bunch of people that are in the middle of the road, just trying to make it to tomorrow. That really just don't even notice the good or the bad.
Yeah, last year, Richland Parish took in about $21 million in total tax receipts. Total, all sales tax, property tax, ad valorem, everything. Meta's first check in their pilot, the payment in lieu of taxes, was $22 million, which exceeds the total collections for the entire parish. So roads should be improving in Richland Parish. Obviously, teacher pay is going to go up. I'd love to see it, and I guess a challenge for the Richland Parish School Board. I'd love for them to make the Richland Parish teacher pay the highest in the state. I think that'd be cool as just a way to say, hey, look, you know what, this is a result. They've already got teachers beating down the door to go teach there now, which you used to not have. Look, think about it this way. If you've got a husband and wife in Richland Parish teaching middle school, they're going to make $180,000 this year.
In Richland Parish.
In Richland Parish.
Yeah.
Which is then going to get, recycled back into the economy through probably buy a new car. They'll, maybe they expand their house, renovate some stuff at their house. Those dollars are going to get spent here. So again, it's all a good thing.
I agree.
And I'm glad to see Richland Parish finally get a win, And I tell you this, I saw again on social media last week somebody, when they announced it, they should give that $50,000. They should spread that to other parishes and let some of those teachers and share some of that money with some of those other teachers. Like, well, hold on. When they weren't getting anything, you weren't willing to share some of the money from Washita with Richland, that neighbors. Like, nope, that's Richland Parish's money, and good for them.
Well, and I think there's something similar going on in Washita Parish and other parish school districts as well. I don't know the specifics. I mean, you might.
I mean, look, sales tax collections. Here,
that's what it's about. 25%, sales tax, right?
Yeah, that's where that
they call the 13th bonus or
check.
Whatever. I'm sorry.
It's divided up based on the a formula they've got locally there within each school district to, like I said, give the teachers what they call the 13th check. I think the Monroe City was going to be somewhere around like $10,000 or $11,000 this year, up from like $8,000. I got to believe Washita Parishes will probably be somewhere in that same number, just because that's the sales tax figures are up in the parish as well. So again, it's a good problem to have when we're able to give teachers more money than we did last year.
So Friday was on here before the ice storm, before it was his fault or whatever. But he said that they projected sales tax revenue to increase by 6%. Didn't he say 6%? And I was like, there's no way it's not going to be more than that. He's like, well, I'm being conservative. Anyway, I don't know if it's known. I don't know if there's been any. Are you aware?
That's the number I've been told is something like 20 to 25%.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was going to be huge.
But it's always nice when government undervalues and so we don't get too out of our skis.
Spend all the money.
Yeah, or plan to spend more money than comes in. And so I think that when say 6, and then anything extra is lagniappe is great. But look, and a lot of this is from the governor's tax reform package in 2024 that the legislature passed that expanded a lot of the base of the way that we collect sales tax, and local governments across the state should be feeling the positive impacts of that. Mm-hmm.
Well, following all the congressional primaries and the Senate primaries around the country, it seems like the president's endorsement means an awful lot to the candidates that receive it.
He's done well.
And it seems like call a spade a spade. I mean, he's like batting a 98% or something ridiculous.
Something like that.
I mean, it's really unbelievable, the percentage of candidates that have won with his endorsement.
Sure.
And it would probably make me hesitate to jump into a race without some idea that I had a chance of getting his endorsement.
Or the fact that he may not endorse anybody. I mean, there are races that he just stays out of. And so, look, we've certainly had conversations with the White House about the endorsement process and the things that they need. And so we'll see where that goes. I know that there was an endorsed candidate here in the 5th.
Blake Miguez was
correct.
Early with an endorsement prior to the
correct.
What's the Casey
Calais
decision?
Correct.
The U.S. Supreme Court decision.
But all the indications are that that's going to transfer over into a different district, and so you'll have an open field here with no presidentially endorsed candidate. So that's where that is, and I think that when you look at what the district looks like today versus what it looked like in March, it certainly sets up very well for someone from Northeast Louisiana.
There's a candidate from Alexandria that was testing the waters.
There's a state rep from Grant Parish up in Dry Prong who's looking at it, Gabe Ferment. I don't know if he's going to qualify or not. And frankly, at the end of the day, that's the beauty of America is that we don't coordinate people. We actually have elections, and the people get to decide. And anybody that wants to put their name on the ballot can put their name on the ballot and run for any office they want. And so, the more the merrier. And I'm looking forward to a productive discussion over the next few months as we lead up to Election Day in November, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I got to think that, if you can get that endorsement, that's going to be pretty strong.
Sure.
A pretty strong indication, if nothing else, of your chance of success.
Sure. Yeah, and again, if the president chooses not to endorse anyone, we'll all just run and still work with the president in January.
There's kind of a weird thing that happened in the Senate race, and it's like, Cassidy basically voted. He voted to impeach the president.
He did,
and then the president, worked with him on some things. It seemed like there was some sort of a reconciliation that occurred prior to, because it wasn't like because Cassidy basically did a 180.
He did try, yes.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like, honestly, Trump really took him to the ground at that point. It was just like,
well, there were a lot of things that the president needed, and with a razor thin majority in the Senate, you couldn't start alienating voting members.
Yeah.
They had the one big beautiful bill to pass. They had appointees to confirm, RFK, which Senator Cassidy certainly held the strings on that appointment. And so with all of that, it
like I said, I think there was a genuine reconciliation that occurred.
I think
for on both sides of Cassidy and President Trump.
Yeah, the only thing I would say to that is
because Trump needed him, he needed
did.
his vote.
He did. There was a person up in Wyoming that was removed from one of Trump's transition teams. There's multiple transition teams. Anyway, you had this individual up in Wyoming removed after it was found out that they were on a host list for a fundraiser for Liz Cheney. Okay, like really? And so when I saw that they removed them, I was like, all right, Cassidy can think that he's reconciling and making amends, but this person was on a host list for somebody that the president doesn't like, and they were removed from the transition team. Bill Cassidy voted to impeach the president, or voted to find the president.
Convict him.
Yeah.
Convict him.
Of in what was really
high crimes and misdemeanors.
An insignificant vote that was never going to, it was after Trump had left office, it was never going to go anywhere. And then he doubled down and went and made a video and said that he had voted to convict the president because he was guilty. It's like, man, that is just poor strategy on his part. But, on the other hand, he had his convictions and stuck to them.
Well, but you know what? I disagree with what you just said, the way that you just said that. Not saying I disagree.
I know what you're saying.
I'm saying like he flip-flopped and then flip-flopped again, and then he flip-flopped the flip out of the seat is what happened. I mean, by the time we got to the end of the deal,
fair enough.
You don't know who Bill Cassidy is. Like, because you're right, he stuck to his convictions in that moment or whatever, or what he thought was the virtuous thing to say and do and everything. But then he flipped and flipped and flipped and flipped and flipped.
Sure.
And I mean, in the vote totals kind of bore that out.
Look, and I'm assuming that they didn't expect President Trump to win re-election or win election in 24. If he doesn't win in 24, it's probably kind of a moot point.
Moot point.
Yeah, but he did, and live with the consequences of our actions.
I mean, who would have ever thought that Joe Biden was going to get that many votes?
They say he got 81 million.
I mean, to me, and what's up with so where's that? Are you familiar with where we're at with the what's the oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. What's the act that about the voting stuff?
Oh, the SAVE Act.
The SAVE Act.
I mean, the fact that it's taken this much debate and this much work to pass a law that says you have to be an American to vote and you have to show an ID proving that you're an American to vote is should be concerning to all of us, right? I mean, we require IDs here in Louisiana. We have safe, secure elections. We don't have don't really run into a bunch of issues on election day where people are like, "Oh, I was disenfranchised. I wasn't allowed to vote." I don't know why the rest of the country can't do that, but we allow. When we set the country up, the 10th Amendment says that everything not in the first 9 is relegated to the states. States set their elections. I just don't think that the founding fathers were expecting this to be a deal where you're going to have non-Americans voting.
Well, it seems like, I'm not trying to, I guess, after 9/11, we had, we had all the new regulations that came with, what was the act that President Bush?
Oh, the
Patriots Act.
Yeah, the Patriot
whatever.
Act.
Is that what it's called? Patriot Act?
That established the Department of Homeland Security.
And basically created, a stronger TSA, made more, there's a lot of regulations. Most people probably aren't aware of them, but that identify people that travel on airplanes, basically.
Sure.
And so that's why if you have if you buy a plane ticket, like used to, you could go to the airport with somebody else's plane ticket and get on the plane, but now it's like if your name's John Smith and there's 470 other John Smiths, you're assigned a special number.
Sure.
So that TSA can identify this John Smith versus some other John Smith.
Right.
And there's some elements to that, not just the flying on airplanes, but with all the surveillance stuff that came with the Patriot Act, that I think Americans and I think, everybody really has some concern about Big Brother, And
that's a fair concern, I think. Americans, we like our freedom. We like we don't want the government all in our business. And so there's certainly a level of concern that comes with the government being all in your business.
And I don't see that it's not the level of government in private persons'
right
affairs is not going down. It's going up.
Yeah, it's going to continue to go up.
It's going to go up.
And particularly as technology improves. But it in the same vein, it certainly helps fight crime.
Well, there's a safety component, and at the end of the day, you want your freedom, but you also want your safety, and especially if you have a family, anything that adds to their safety it feels like a good thing.
Sure, and I'll give you an example of that through legislation I've been a part of, everybody knows that I hate speed cameras. It is a passion of mine to see them
Eradicated. Yes. What about red light cameras?
Well, so hold on, but that's where I was actually going. The red light camera, here's the difference, okay? The red light camera, there's a video of you rolling through the red light. Mm-hmm. It's saved. If you contest it, they can show you this is the red light camera. But then the red light camera is also used in
traffic incidents.
Correct. And so they can go pull to determine who is at fault in a wreck. And so
this is where we should have been started talking. I mean, this is
and so as well as we're working to try to reduce insurance rates in the state. So why would we take a tool that can be used to, determine fault? Why would we take that out of the hands of law enforcement? And so that was where I was willing to draw the line and say, okay, red light camera is different than the automated speed enforcement device that just takes a picture of you. It's just a picture. You really can't tell
your car. Yeah,
there's no calibration required on the camera. There's, this is a video of your vehicle rolling through a red light. It's, funny story, as we were going through this, a friend of mine in Baton Rouge, it says his daughter called. He actually represented the city of Baton Rouge that has cameras. And his daughter called him and was like, "Dad, I got one of these camera tickets in the mail. Can you help me?" He said, "Sure." She said, I did not run that red light. He's like, "Hey, it's okay. Look, it's on camera." We'll. So he took her to the police department, and sure enough, she didn't just roll through it. She ran it. And he was like, "Get your checkbook out. You're paying the ticket. You can't say that you didn't run the red light." Again, the speed camera thing is a little different, and so.
But to your point, the red light camera, and I've gotten a red light camera ticket before in Lafayette. I think there's one in Lafayette somewhere that I think I got it in the mail. And here's the thing, I remember going through that thing. It was at night, and as I was going through, I remember seeing the flash of their camera or whatever that took the photograph of me like
right.
driving through, and it was a yellow light, and it transitioned just before I entered the intersection, and I shouldn't have done that. I broke the law
right,
but there was no there was no cross traffic that was in danger at the time, or at least
That's why I like the roundabout so much better than red lights.
Yeah. You don't have that issue as much.
Yeah, it's certainly safer and helps traffic flow a lot better. I think if you go out to West Monroe and you look at Arkansas Road, traffic counts are nearly the same as what they were before the roundabouts. But if you go ride Arkansas Road, you're like, "Oh, there's no traffic here." Mm-hmm. It's just because the roundabout flows everything so much smoother. It's one of the few things I'll give the Europeans credit for.
Well, and then even, in the roundabout deal is, when you have a side swipe collision versus a T-bone collision, ultimately what causes injuries are the devices and like the seats and the steering wheels and the airbags. Sure. What causes those injuries are the things inside the vehicle when your body moves around if you're in a collision. And so with those side swipe accidents, you can still receive an injury, but the injuries are typically
less severe,
far less severe. So,
well, because I guess that when you T-bone somebody, there's two sudden stops. There's two changes in motion. Mm-hmm. Side swipe, not so much. It's more.
It can be a bad. You
Sure.
can receive a bad injury in a side swipe collision for sure, but T-bones are. Some of the worst accidents that I've handled have been T-bone collisions. Just from the standpoint of there's a sudden stop and
Sure.
the forces involved in those situations are often far more severe. So, I mean, I liked your.
And again, it was just kind of one of those deals where it was like, hey, we're trying to lower insurance rates. If we're truly trying to do that, let's not take a tool out of people's hands to determine fault and make sure that the wrong people aren't paying. So, yeah.
What do you think about Texas's 85 miles an hour speed limit on their?
I think there are certainly parts of the interstate that you could do that. I don't know that you want it 85 from Vicksburg to the Texas line. But I think when you get in Texas, anybody that's driven in Texas, it's a lot of nothing, a lot of straight, a lot of flat. So I like to drive fast. So I mean, and I'm assuming that it's not 85 through the middle of Dallas or Houston or San Antonio. No. I'm sure it drops down, and then I'm sure there's some parameter that you have to have some population and some distance between.
Yeah, there's
whatever.
Probably a smart way to.
Well, but they also, the way that Texas does some stuff, the way that they use what's called a slip ramp to get off the interstate, their use of frontage roads, makes it a lot easier to not have to have the speed reduction that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'd love to see more, like I said, slip ramps makes it easier to get off. Love to see more frontage roads, but it's kind of not the way that we've designed our communities around the interstates.
Yeah, I mean, if we had more frontage roads, that would be fantastic. And what would be really great is if we had a loop. Like, have you ever been to Lexington, Kentucky? So Lexington is basically a town inside of a interstate loop.
Okay.
And you can go all the way around the town of Lexington in that loop. And at any point you can get off. I mean, basically you can be
similar to Shreveport, kind of. Shreveport's got a northern loop.
Well, maybe. Yeah, there's, I guess, sort of. But I mean, you can literally be anywhere in the town of Lexington, like
really
super fast. I think it's a tighter loop than maybe the loop in Shreveport.
Look, I'd love to see us finish the Kansas Lane connection. That would then, certainly make it easier to get up to Forsyth from the interstate, which would then relieve some traffic between the Forsyth extension and I-20, which seems to have really started to clog up here more in the last couple of years than it had in the past. I guess that maybe result in more people moving north. So
somebody told me the other day that the second wave of Meta folks is about to land, and it's going to be like 8,000 total new people on the roads daily. And then I heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that Gronila is projecting something like 20,000 new jobs in the next.
All construction related stuff?
No, permanent jobs in the next, I don't know, however many years. It may be like 20 years, I'm not sure. But they're projecting like 20,000 permanent new jobs.
That'd certainly be great. I mean, we've already started to see some results of the Richland Parish facility. They've got the new FTI, going to create 200 jobs there on Millhaven Road, 594 Millhaven Road, just outside of Washita High School. That they make components for data centers that would not be there if it wasn't for that facility there. I think that there's also going to be other facilities that are created literally across the street from the main facility, similar to what you've seen in like Silicon Valley, things like that. Interesting. I like history. Newspapers.com is an awesome subscription to buy. It's about $70 a year, and you can go read newspapers from the 1700s. Like you can literally go read the newspaper in Philadelphia on July 5th to read them talk about what happened at Independence Hall.
Oh, wow.
On, I guess really it was July 3rd when they actually signed the Declaration of Independence and all that. But through all that, I was trying to figure out why Huntsville, Alabama has seen so much of the growth they've seen. You know, it's growing leaps and bounds. And it all goes back to one incident in the late 40s, early 50s. Werner von Braun was the pioneer.
German rocket scientist.
Correct.
I think he was a Nazi.
He did leave Germany when he saw the way the war was going in 1940, late 44, 45. They ended up turning themselves. It's actually a really fascinating deal. They turned themselves in. He and a group of other scientists turned themselves in to an American prisoner of war camp. They essentially cut a deal, and the Americans brought them back, and they put them out in West Texas in El Paso at the White Sands missile compound, which Werner von Braun hated. And a lot of it had to do with the proximity that it was to Mexico. They tested a rocket, had some issues with it. It ended up in Mexico, almost created an international incident. So he wanted to get out of that area. So they established a commission to determine where they were going to move the rocket testing facility. This was all around the Saturn V rocket. And so it's several different sites. I think San Diego was one of them, but again, its proximity to Mexico kind of knocked it off the list. When he got off the train in Huntsville, he was like, "Oh my God, this is heaven on earth." It's like they had a lot of flat farmland, a lot of water from the Tennessee River right around there, and relatively inexpensive power due to the Tennessee Valley Authority. And so it was this perfect storm to establish the testing facility to develop the Saturn V rocket, which was the first project that led to the development of Huntsville as it is today. When you take those same things and you look at Northeast Louisiana, we got all the same stuff that they had in Huntsville, Alabama in the late 40s, early 50s. Relatively inexpensive power, flat, easily developed land, and a lot of access to water. And so I think that right there is why you're going to see an explosion happen. No rocket pun intended there, but you're going to see an explosion happen, economic development wise here in Northeast Louisiana. I think that's a lot of the reasons, along with how much easier it is to do business here than in other states. Our friendly tax policy. So, and look, and also be on the lookout too. There's quite a bit of activity down in Vermilion Parish, around some potential launches of some stuff there. So it's there's a lot of potential and a lot of things getting ready to happen. On top of, look, the traditional things too. We're talking about Hyundai Steel with their multi-billion-dollar steel production facility down outside of Baton Rouge in Livingston Parish. When you talk about the Amazon facility in Shreveport, talk about them building another data center in Boyce outside of Alexandria. There's one in West Feliciana. And so you're going to see a lot of growth just around those facilities, just because it naturally happens, right? But it's a direct result of a lot of the things that we've done over the last 2 or 3 years to put us in a position
to compete
and win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, like I said, call it whatever you want. I'm not like, I'm in favor of growth,
Smart growth.
Yeah. But a lot of this too, I think, is coming on the back of Governor Landry's relationship with Trump. It seems like there's some benefits that we're receiving. Also, there's as you said, there's natural resources that we have that are advantageous for some of these companies.
Sure. And look, don't look. Rob Cleveland at Groton-Ela does a fantastic job. Susan Bourgeois at LED has completely reinvented that department. It was almost non-existent under the former secretary, and she has come in and put a plan together, again, to get us in a position to compete and win. And then, again, along with the policy changes that we made in the legislature to put us in a position to make us enticing for development. So,
do you think that the state will ever eliminate income tax?
I'd love to see us get there. We're still we've slowly worked towards that. Mississippi had a lot of talk last year about the elimination of income tax there, but what they didn't tell you is that it's not until like 2035 or something, and that you would have to, if you chose between Louisiana and Mississippi, you're still paying less income tax in Louisiana up until like 2031 than before Mississippi's income tax rate drops below ours. And so, look, I'd love to see it happen. And hopefully that, again, if we can continue to get wins like what we're getting, there's no reason that we can't.
It seems like we're moving in that direction.
Yeah. And I think that when you look at what that does for a state, just the morale, Florida has, Florida's kind of a unique.
Because they have Disney.
It's not just
Universal.
Disney, not just that, just the
and all the other tourism.
Yeah, all the tourism, the people coming to Florida for vacation outside of Disney World and Orlando, whether it's the Panhandle, whether it's Miami, Key West, whatever it may be. There's certainly there's an ability to get revenue off of transient visitors to Florida, Texas. Texas just has a completely different model of state government, and they push so much stuff out to the locals. They don't run to Austin and ask for dollars. They'll just pass local taxes, and so they'll pass property taxes, which is why it's funny. We always seem to the grass is not always greener on the other side. If you compared your property taxes in Texas versus your property taxes here, it's exponentially more expensive. And in Arkansas, you pay a property tax on your vehicle. And so I actually did a study on that it's another, from my truck, which is a 5-year-old truck, 6-year-old truck with 175,000 miles on it, still cost me, because I actually had the woman in El Dorado, the assessor there, tell me how much it would cost. It's still like $300 or $400 a year in property tax I have to pay on that. You have to pay tax on boats, on trailers, on four-wheelers. We don't have a property tax on that, and so it's easy for us in our bubble to say, oh, they don't have an income tax in Texas. They don't have this in Arkansas. Yeah, but when you really look at the totality of it, they pay just as much or more than we do in taxes. We just pay it differently. But I'd love to see the income tax go away again, just because of the morale boost that it gives.
Yeah. Well, and I've never really thought about the morale boost, but I mean, small businesses, which I'm, involved in small business. I mean, it's, if it were to go away, it would be a meaningful, thing, but at the same time, I mean, I understand that if it goes away, those services that the state pays for are going to have to be funded in some other way. And,
correct, or eliminated. And so it's the
there's a balancing that has to happen.
Correct. And so the hope would be that we would see a growth in a business growth that provides those resources so that the people can see a reduction. So, yeah.
So you were in the Army?
Yep, still am. They still get a weekend a month out of me. Spent 23 years. I was in basic training the day the war started. Have done Afghanistan a couple times, Puerto Rico after Hurricanes Irma and Maria in 2017, 2018. And so it has certainly, I was actually telling somebody this last week, a sheriff I was visiting with in South Louisiana. A lot of the success that I've had in politics is a result of the Army. And I say that. So the Army doesn't care what you look like, what your background is, where you're from. They say, okay, I need an engineer, major, one each. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, like, as long as if you're that and they need that and you get picked, you're going to go be part of that team. Well, in politics, you've got to be able to work with everybody. You've got to be able to get out of your bubble, not just only talk to or only work with people that look like you, think like you, or the same age as you, whatever. And so I truly believe that any political success I've had, or an overwhelming majority of the political success I've had, has been from the background I've gotten in the Army. Just because you have to work with people. And if you try to do things on your own, you're not going to be successful politically.
What's your actual job in the, like, are you in the National Guard now?
So,
how does that work?
So I am in the process of, I was in the Army Reserves until about 2 months ago. I was assigned to a unit in Washington, the Army Corps of Engineers headquarters, and the program I was in, you can only do it for 3 years and you got to go somewhere else. Well, there was nowhere close by to go. And so, with a new child at home, plus the legislature, it wasn't fair to me or to any unit for me to end up, going to Charlotte, North Carolina to drill on weekends and do all that. And so I reached out to some contacts at the National Guard and said, look, I'm looking for a position. What have you got? I said, well, send me your bio and all that. And they said, all right, we've got a couple of these positions. Which one would you like? And I said, all right, yeah, I'll take the plans officer in Alexandria. And so I'll be in the converting from the Army Reserve to the National Guard, literally waiting on finishing up the paperwork. So it'll be an interesting. I've never been in the National Guard. I'm looking forward to it.
So what? I don't really know the difference between. What's the difference between reserves and National Guard?
Yeah, so the National Guard is managed by the state. It's essentially the state's militia, and then the Army Reserve is a reserve function of
the national
the active Army. Now, since 2001. A lot of that has been interchangeable because, when you deploy, you may be living on a fob with a National Guard unit. You may be living on a fob with the 82nd Airborne. There could be an Army Reserve unit there. Historically, pre 9/11, that wasn't really the way that we deployed. Now it's all very, very interchangeable. But historically, the National Guard, there was a any like local disaster, the National Guard is the one that goes and supports that. Army Reserve not so much, and it's just a color of money thing. And so that's about the easiest example I can give you of the National Guard versus the Army Reserves. Both have great soldiers. Both have.
Is the foundation essentially the same? Like your training, your initial training, and
yep, everybody. Yes, it all. You don't when you go to basic training, you could have a guy going to Ranger School next to a guy going to the National Guard, the guy going to the Army Reserves. And you really would never know unless they told you. Mm-hmm. So,
well, then I guess you may not know. I guess where they're going to end up.
Yeah, well, on the active side, they on the Reserve National Guard side, you do.
Okay,
it's all part of your enlistment.
So you knew
contract.
You were going to be reserve.
Yeah.
Before, like, whenever you signed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then on the active side, it's all part of your enlistment contract that tells you where you're gonna go, what you're gonna go do. I'll never forget in my basic training platoon, one of our drill sergeants was had been in the Ranger Battalion and got assigned to be a drill sergeant. And so one of our guys had a Ranger contract, so he was an active component soldier, leaving when we graduated basic training to go to Ranger School. And I remember that every night, and I wish I remember the drill sergeant's name, every night that drill sergeant would call the guy at the Ranger School contract, and he would make him do push-ups by himself in front of everybody as he was doing his counts at night. And he's like, I'm just getting you ready for Ranger School. So
you gotta be ready to do some push-ups at Ranger School, huh?
I'm assuming I've never been. I did go watch Ranger School graduation. I had some friends graduate from my officer basic course that graduated from Ranger School, and I went and watched them graduate. And it was one of the cooler military graduations I've been to. If anybody ever has a chance to go watch Ranger School graduation, go, because it's worth the drive and the hour and a half, 2 hours that the graduation was. It was really a cool experience. So,
so what So what roles have you, like, I guess, what ranks have you had, or how's that work? I don't even, like, I know
Yeah,
a little,
so-
I know a little bit about the Army
Yeah, yeah.
because I'm sure you may be aware my dad
Yep.
was in the Army for a long time
Um,
and retired.
so I'm a lieutenant colonel right now. I've, second lieutenant, first lieutenant, captain, major, lieutenant colonel.
So after you finished basic, were you like a private?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you went the route, like, you didn't do ROTC.
No, not the traditional. I did so. Not the traditional, like, so I took some ROTC classes. I did get my commission through the ROTC program at Grambling, and I'm trying to think how, but I was still enlisted, right? And so there's a handful of us that did that, and then there's also a path that you can take where you just come straight out of high school. You go to 4 years of ROTC. They have some things in the summer that you go do, and then you commission as a second lieutenant. I went a different route. I had some school, went and came out as a private, got into what they call the SMP program, the simultaneous membership, where you're a member of the you're an enlisted member, but you're also going through the commissioning process. And then in 2006, when I finally graduated, I got my commission as a second lieutenant. Went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri to do officer basic course. Was part of the last officer basic course they ever did. They transitioned to a new model after that. I'm glad I went to the EOBC and not the Bolick model that they went to, because everybody I know that went to Bolick hated it. So I met a lot of really good people that I've run into in random places across the globe, and several people that I still talk to. So
That's cool.
yeah, it's been a very rewarding experience. I've had the opportunity to meet people that I'd have never met before from places I've never imagined, but I've also gotten to go places that I never expected to ever go. Some have been good, some have been bad. Some places I wouldn't ever go back to. But it also gave me a new perspective of the world. On my second tour to Afghanistan, I lived on a base outside of Kabul with the Australians, New Zealanders, Danish, the Turks, and I was the only American soldier on the base.
Wow.
And so,
What was your assignment?
I was an ITAT, the infrastructure training assessment team member, where I worked with the Afghan military alongside the Brits, to try to show Afghan officers the right way to do things. And so,
So it was like a training research.
yeah. So it was they were working on building a facility outside that was going to be a military training facility. You had one piece that the Brits were in charge of mentoring, and it was modeled after Sandhurst, which is the UK's version of West Point. They had a sergeant major's academy that had another, I forget which nation was responsible for that. They had the West Point version, which shockingly was not advised by the Americans. It was advised by the Turks. Then you had the Australians and the New Zealanders who did other advising, and so it was very rewarding. But also, I'd love to go back and see what they've done in the 5 years since we've been gone, because I'm sure it's not the way we left it.
Mm-hmm.
My first tour, I lived on a really small base outside of Jalalabad, or on the edge of Jalalabad, and it was a small fob within a larger Afghan fob. And so we were responsible for the eastern border of Afghanistan, Pakistan, what's called N2KL, Nangarhar, Kunar. Nangarhar, Nuristan, Kunar, and Logman, N2KL. And so we had facilities all through there that we were building, border police facilities, security, Afghan security force facilities, and Afghan army base. And so I had a team there, and we would go out all throughout the eastern Afghan Pakistan, part like through the Torbor region, all the way up into northeast Afghanistan, trying to build facilities. And we gave that facility to the Afghans shortly after I left, and you can look at it on Google Maps, and it does not look anything like the way we left it. So,
not in a good way, it sounds like.
No, not in a good way. We had that first, that was 2009, 2010 that I was there the first time. And it was part of the surge. And I had a friend of mine who was there, who sent me a Facebook message, and he said, "Hey, we need somebody. Would you be willing to come over?" So I haven't gone anywhere yet. My time is coming. I'd rather it be on my terms than theirs. And so I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So Fort Benning, did a week's worth of train up and medical stuff and all the things you have to do. Got everything issued that you have to get issued, and got on a plane and flew to Bagram, Afghanistan, to get on a helicopter to fly to Kabul, to get on another helicopter to fly to Jalalabad. And I spent a year there, and again, met a lot of people that I really liked and got to do and see how you work with people, how you don't work with people, and came home in one piece. Thank the Lord.
So when would your last tour have been?
16, 17. 16 was when I was at Karga outside of Kabul. So 2009, 2010 was the Jalalabad. 2016, 17 was in Karga, then came back in 2017, early 18 was in Puerto Rico after Irma and Maria, then ended up getting assigned to Corps of Engineers in Vicksburg, which then got assigned here, working in the office here in Monroe, luckily. And the first day I walked in, they're like, "Hey, we got a potential failure on the Columbia Lock and Dam," which started out as like a...
So are you an engineer? Like, what's your...
I got a business degree. The Army just tells you what you're going to do. So no, I am not. I am not an engineer. But a lot of that stuff is just it's managing people and
you're leading.
Yeah, just being a leader, and that's really the Army's number one development plan, is just to develop you into a leader. And then it goes back to, I can plug you into anything, right? Mm-hmm. I can take you, if you have this, and this, and I'm going to train you and teach you the things you need to do. And if you've got that, I can plug you in anywhere and make you a leader. And so that's been the military career for me. The Columbia Lock and Dam thing was certainly challenging, and it's still not done. Actually, they've got more problems down there that if it goes, would be catastrophic for North Louisiana. We get so much out of the Washita River, and if we lost the lock and dam in Columbia, I mean, you're talking about Entergy struggling to get water intake. You're talking about farmers in Morehouse Parish struggling to pump water out of the Washita River. Drinking water here in Monroe, it's the Washita River is so important, and that lock and dam. If it fails, we're in real trouble here.
Do you
Hope not.
I mean,
it's got some.
what's the
There was a sand boil underneath the lock and dam that was potentially compromising the structure. We drilled a series of holes in the lock, pumped concrete into it to try to stop the sand boil. And my understanding is that there may be another boil underneath it. I don't know. I hope that it's not. I hope it's not serious. So, yeah.
That's kind of scary.
I mean, outside of the recreational stuff, which would suck too. But if you go back and you look historically, the Washita River used to dry up in the summer. It was when we didn't have a series of locks and dams, you could walk across the river from Monroe to West Monroe. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Like if it failed, are you saying that it would go back to that, you think?
I don't know. Again, I'm not an engineer.
Yeah.
I just hope that the people that are a lot smarter than me
on top
have a
of it.
plan. So
I never joined the military, but whenever I was a sophomore, my dad was
he was a commander out there.
Yeah, he was over all the ROTC for ULM and Grambling, and then they consolidated it to Grambling after my dad retired. But so whenever I was a sophomore in college, he recommended that I go to that leadership training course.
Okay.
They do it. I don't know if they still do it, but they used to do it at Fort Knox.
Yeah.
And it's basically where you skip the first 2 years of ROTC. Once you graduate from that, and then you can enroll in the RTC program and finish, those 2 years in RTC, and receive a commission upon graduation, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I went through that course, and my dad was just like, "What? I'm not trying to." He was like, "I'm not trying to get you to join the Army." He said, "But I think you would benefit from just attending this course." Like he said, and then he was like real emphatic, like, "I'm not saying go to join the Army, just I want you to go do the course."
Sure.
And it was actually I think it was a very beneficial thing for me.
Like I said, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but the Army has been great for me. I mean, I would recommend any branch of service. Obviously, I'm partial to the Army because of the 23 years I've spent in it, but whether it's the Navy or the Air Force or the Coast Guard, whatever it is, Marine Corps, there is certainly a maturity that it instills and a leadership that it instills, being part of a team that it instills, that you can't duplicate anywhere else. Mm-hmm. And so I have been fortunate to
receive the fruits of that.
Yeah. And like I said, as I said earlier, I put so much stock in my political success being from my military career because of the things that it taught me. And so I would recommend, as somebody I heard, I had a instructor one time said, his child was born, he had 5 scholarship offers the day he was born: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard. So
it's a path to get educated.
It is. It really is. it truly is now. From 2003 to 2021, you pretty much knew you were deploying at some point if you got in. But now those opportunities it's kind of back towards a peacetime Army, particularly on the Reserve and National Guard side. But look, the president is using the National Guard very productively in a lot of major cities doing some crime control stuff. I mean, I'll give you another short story. I was in D.C. last year doing my 2-week annual Army training, and obviously I would wear my uniform every day, but I would get on the subway to go to work. And people didn't. All the average person sees is just a man in uniform, so they don't know if I'm a private or a colonel or whatever. They also don't know what I'm doing. But you also had, like, on every subway platform, you had soldiers, and I could tell who was doing the security work because they were in their plate carriers, and they had pistols or whatever, M9s. But it never failed that I would get off the subway and I'd be walking down the street to go to where I was working that day, and somebody would say, "Hey, thank you for what you're doing, helping here in D.C." And I would just say, "Thank you. It wasn't worth the time to explain. I'm not really doing anything with the security." But it was black, white, young, old. Everybody was thankful and appreciative of the job that the men and women of the National Guard were doing to make the streets safer in D.C. And so I think that it's easy to let certain aspects or avenues of the media tell you one thing, but the general public was truly, truly grateful and appreciative.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's really to acknowledge you. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you served. I think it's a wonderful thing that you're representing our community in Baton Rouge and potentially maybe one day in D.C. And I know that you've got the heart to serve because of that experience that you've been through. And I mean, I know you're not making millions of dollars being in the reserves. No, certainly not. If anything, it's kept you from making millions of dollars. But like I said, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, and would recommend it to anybody that asked, just because it's been that positive. Well, that's great, man. So yeah. No, this was good though. I like this. Well, again, I just want to say thank you for your service in the Army. Thank you for your service in Baton Rouge. And, the reality is jumping out there to run for any office takes a tremendous amount of resources and courage. And it's a courageous thing that you're doing. I mean, really, it is. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it's, they're going to try to embarrass you and whatever. And, I started this little project this election season because I think, there's all these advertisements and stuff, and it's like you never really get to know the people. Sure. Yeah. And I think that people would benefit from getting to know the people that are seeking to represent them.